Hey, it's Cory from Earthquaker, and today we will be covering the Swiss Things. So the Swiss Things is an all-in-one pedalboard utility solution designed to tie your whole rig together and preserve your guitar's original tone without compromise. The Swiss Things combines two true bypass effects loops with flexi switching technology. It's going to be your dedicated AB-Y box with transformer isolation between outputs. We have a buffered tuner out, up to 20 dB of clean boost with adjustable gain, an expression pedal output for volume control, and a high headroom output buffer. So with all that being said, here's what you can do with it. You can quickly and easily bypass or engage multiple effects with one click. You can use as many pedals as you'd like without any tone loss. You can use multiple amplifiers in your rig without having to deal with any ground hum, phase issues, or extra noise. You get the benefits of flexi switching technology on every pedal in your setup. You can also eliminate volume pedal tone suck entirely. And overall, you're going to be able to just tidy up your pedal board by shortening any cable runs and reducing tone loss. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, buffers, phase issues, tone suck, what is this guy even talking about? Well, let me explain why this is all useful. So every time you introduce a pedal and more cabling into your chain, you're adding capacitance to the signal, which is changing the tone. So in other words, the more distance your guitar signal has to travel, the weaker and more muffled the sound becomes. So this is effectively like adding a capacitor to your guitar's tone pot, which is slightly rolling off the treble little by little, and this becomes significantly more destructive the more that you have in your signal chain in between your guitar and your amp. So the Swiss Things actually has buffers inside that are optimally placed to preserve your guitar's original tone with the ability to drive long cable runs without any signal degradation. Now, if you have a large pedal board and you find yourself tap dancing all over the stage trying to turn one half of your pedals on and the other half of them off, then the true bypass effects loops in the Swiss Things will solve that issue for you along with any signal loss issues. For example, if you're creating an ambient space for your guitar sound, chances are you may be using more than one effect pedal at a time, like some delays, maybe some reverbs, and even modulation. Now say the chorus of a song is quickly approaching and we need to bypass all ambient effects right away and go into a clean rhythm tone. So it's very useful to have these effects in loops where you can bypass or engage entire chains of effects at once. So let's get started rescuing your pedal board. First, we will place the Swiss Things in the top right corner of the pedal board and plug in the 9-volt power. Next, we'll plug in the guitar's input, and this will be either straight out of your guitar or after any always-on type of pedals like compressors, EQs, and any envelope-controlled effects. Next, we will address our outputs. You can see we have two of them, A and B, which we can then send to amplifiers, modelers, or any other effects. So now it's time to start adding effects into our loops. And does it matter which effects go into each loop? Yes, it does. So loop 1 is unbuffered and intended for use with distortions, fuzzes, and overdrives. Use this loop for vintage pedals or anything with a low input impedance that requires direct interaction with your guitar's pickups. Connect the loop 1 send to the input of your octave or first gain pedal in the chain and the output of the last pedal in the chain into the loop 1 return. Loop 2 is buffered and comes after loop 1. And this is where you would put your time-based and modulation effects like delay, flanging, and reverb. Now we'll connect our tuner to tuner out, and finally an expression pedal for volume control here. Most volume pedals have a limited travel and create tone suck by loading down the signal. This problem is solved with a buffered output that allows you to use any expression pedal to control your volume. The volume expression jack is actually placed after loop 1, which allows you to do all of your volume adjustments without affecting gain. Now, sometimes when you play through multiple amps, you may experience ground hum or extra noise. We rectified that on the Swiss Things by putting an isolation transformer on output B. On top of that, we included a polarity reversal switch, which solves any phase cancellation problems that may arise when two different amplifiers are being used simultaneously. And there's even more cool routing options you can do with the Swiss Things. So let's take a look at our two outputs A and B. Now, if you have more than one amp, you can use the Swiss Things to silently switch back and forth between them, or play them both at the same time in stereo. Now, the Swiss Things makes great use of flexi switching. I personally think this is one of the coolest aspects about the pedal. Now, if you still don't know what flexi switching means, it's a functional technology that we put inside of our pedals, which allows you to simultaneously use them as momentary or latching style switching modes. And the great thing about the Swiss Things is you get the benefits of flexi switching on literally any pedal in your setup, even the ones that don't say Earthquake or Devices on them. So what I'll do now is I'll play a little bit using the momentary features on the Swiss Things as well as some individual pedals to seamlessly bring effects in and out. So the Swiss Things has really become an invaluable utility for my setup. It just solves and protects against so many common signal and routing issues that it definitely earned its spot on my board.